Most of us never learned how to train our brains, which is why most of us needlessly settle, struggle, and worse, suffer. My name is Chris Doris, and I want to make brain training mainstream. This is my series, Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I'm interviewing badasses from all walks of life on what mental toughness means to them and their unique approaches to strengthening their minds. Hello. Welcome back to Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I am your host, Chris Doris, and our guest today is a fun one. This is going to be one of the more lighthearted ones. That's not to say that we won't get deep, but man, I love this woman. We always have a good time. We're talking about Stella Reid, aka Nanny Stella. I'm going to read you her bio because this is pretty good. This isn't one that I wanted to wing. I wanted to read this because this is pretty funny. So, Nanny Stella has reinvented herself many times over the last 3 decades since she moved from the UK to the USA. Whether it be as a real-life British-trained nanny, a 3-times author, a reality TV star, or as a parent coach/consultant to celebrities and families alike, she has positively impacted people along her way. What does Stella want you to know about her? She came from England on a holiday to the USA 29 years ago, and England wouldn't have her back. This is great here. Her husband, Mike, her current husband, Mike, who was not her husband at the time, in fact was a complete stranger, called her house accidentally in an attempt to order a pizza, no joke. She wasn't home. He left her a message. She called him back. Now they're married. She's not smart. She just wears glasses as a prop. These are her words. Okay, I didn't write this. But she does have a few paper qualifications, including a BA in human behavior. She has Momnesia, thanks to Mason, her 7-year-old smiling assassin. Way to go, Mason. She can remember what she did 30 years ago, but not why she walked into the damn kitchen. She's the oldest mum, at the first grade pickup line. She recently turned 54. She has her name on 3 books. They are Expert Advice for All Your Parenting Emergencies, The Nanny Chronicles of Hollywood, and Nanny in Charge. She's worked with families for 29 years in different capacities. Now she coaches parents, or rather she tricks them into believing she knows what she's talking about, and they pay her. She matches nannies and families, plus she offers online training courses. She's not a millionaire, but she knows she's going to be great at it. She was on a crazy TV show called Nanny 911. Now I have this mug. I have props here. I want to show you. This is the Nanny Stella mug. Never fear, Nanny's here. For those of you that are just listening on the podcast, I'm holding up a coffee mug that I have of hers, but I want to show you the other side in a second. But she's actually more remembered for having been spoofed on South Park. Who can say that? I mean, when that's true, you have truly arrived. Yep. And we're going to get her to talk. She doesn't know I have this. All right. We're going to get her to talk about that. I think she actually looks forward to talking about that. So we'll make sure we bring that up. All right. Nanny's back here somewhere. Let's go find her. And here she is, Nanny Stella. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Best day of my life.
Good.
How are you?
Fabulous.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You always are. You always are. Like a boss. Is that what that says?
Yeah, that's my mantra today. Like a boss.
Huh. I have a mug too.
I knew I could have.
Other side.
I could have won $1 million on you showing up with that cup today.
Yeah, you know it.
I do. You can show the other side.
I will.
I'm embracing that now.
I know you are. So we're going to get to that. But before we get to that, so I'm going to keep that secretive, right, until we get to that, which of course we will. So you have such an interesting story, and I hope that you'll share so much of it with us. But before we get into any of that, I did have one question I wanted to ask you, which is it has to do with your not only punctuality, but your commitment to being early. I find that very interesting and very appealing. So talk to me about that.
Well, it's actually, it's a little bit of an illness in some regards.
I know. You just yelled at me a few minutes ago. Say, where's the link? You know I like to be early.
There was no caps. It was a beautiful request.
That's true.
With love and respect.
That's true.
So I think it comes from being British, definitely. Well, I say it, I think, and definitely it does. I would rather be literally hours early than a few minutes late, because this is the nanny in me as well. I find it disrespectful to be late. I get I've chilled out a little bit. I get that circumstance gets in the way and some things are out of people's control, but it's kind of like military precision. If I was going for an interview for a nanny job, I would go check out the route and where that house was or where the place was before I was going to turn up for the actual interview.
So it's a respect thing.
Yeah. Punctuality. Yeah.
Not only that, you said a few things. It's a respect thing, but it's also, you didn't use the word efficiency, but you referenced the militaries. Precision is the word you said.
Yeah, military. It's like military precision.
I love that. That's a really cool military precision.
So
that's really
years ago, so I dated a guy in the army many years ago.
Yeah.
So
Here we go.
I have to throw that in.
Here we go, folks.
Sorry, this
Buckle up. This is how it's going to be.
And it's about what we're going to talk about today. It's about preparation. It's about preparation. So it's the fact that you're building in time for something that may happen, right? So if you're going to get on the 405 freeway at a certain time of the day, you can get there in, say, 30 minutes. But if you get on the 405 freeway to go north at another time of day, you're going to have to build in extra time for that. So it's being organized and planning, and it is a bit of an illness, I have to say.
Or a skill set, because you're describing mental preparation.
Yeah, but it comes with, like, if I'm going to be late, if there's a chance I'm going to be late, I might want to throw up.
Okay, that is an illness. All right. Well, we'll talk about that offline. So, there's something behind you that I wanted to ask you about. We did a test yesterday, and I got to see. We need to talk about the quarters, the shed quarters. But what is that right behind you? The cash thing, the CACHE. You said that.
So this is the Council for Awards in Care, Health and Education. This is a British standard as far as training. Oh. So years ago, there used to be something called the NNEB for nannies, which was National Nursery Education Board. And this company owns that brand. And basically, I am the only approved centre in the United States for training, to run training for cash.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now tell us about the headquarters. The only established approved cash.
Well, I know that you
in the United States.
And I run it out of my shed quarters. So up here says.
Yeah. Oh, that is so great. Look at that.
Nanny, that was a gift. So Nanny Stella Inc. That's my business, and these are my shed quarters. I do actually use a co-working space every now and again. But basically, this is where the magic happens. Mm-hmm. I know you have experience with this because one of your former interviewees per se is Amy. Isn't LinkedIn checking her out?
Yeah, because, Amy Slater. Mm-hmm.
Amy Slater. See, Momnesia. We can talk about that.
We will.
The fact that the world's not the same in regards to brick and mortar, and for myself, I wanted something that I could. I have a 7-year-old, and I participate heavily in his activities and school and PTA and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to work from home, but I also wanted to have a place to go. So this is it.
So you're home. You're on your home property.
Yeah.
Separate building that you created. Can we get can we see any more of it? Or?
Well, how about I'll show you at the end, because it's pretty messy and I want to be
Are you
strategic.
gonna have somebody clean it up while we're talking?
No,
Who cares?
no, because I'm also going through this thing of purging and getting organized. I'll show you a little bit. Okay, so over there, I'm having these. Can you see the storage?
Yes.
Okay, and then I ripped my curtain down and put a towel up, so you can see improvising at its best.
Nice.
So
do you have clients that actually come there? And
no,
so you don't ever do.
no. So in the past, I've had nannies interview here, but then I decided that model didn't work for me because I really don't want people coming to my home.
Okay.
Because my husband lives here, my son lives here,
Sure.
my mom. There's another building to the side of us, which is we call that Wits End. My mom lives in there. It's a little granny flat.
Oh, how fun.
So it's I want to be mindful and respectful of the
Absolutely.
fact that
Sure.
it's kind of a sacred space, my home. Of course, I invite people here, but I try and not do business in my home.
Sure. Gotcha. What's Momnesia?
Oh my gosh. So I had my son the day before I was 47.
Okay.
And some people call it mommy brain, but a friend of mine, Nicole, she used the terminology one day, so I borrowed it. And I can remember what I did 30 years ago, but I can't remember why I walked in the kitchen. So that comes with losing brain. They say you lose brain cells when you have children. So I probably didn't have a lot left by the time I was 47. So I know they're popping rapidly on a daily basis.
Well, that's interesting because that sounds like that could be very inconvenient, and dealing with that would require some mental toughness.
Does mental toughness.
So
Look, mental toughness for me, I briefly mentioned this to you before. It's definitely new on my radar. Like, there's definitely things that I've been doing or trying hard to do that I didn't know came under the label of mental toughness. Like, if you'd have asked me about mental toughness a couple of years ago, I would have said, "Whoa, wait a minute, I'm not an athlete, so why are we having this conversation?" But now I get these philosophies that these skill sets that you can adapt to your life, that are going to improve your life, your business, everything about you, if you have some sort of like core traits.
Well, you wrote a few things in the past couple of weeks when we were setting this all up, and I didn't. This was unsolicited. You just offered this, and it fascinated me, and I really would love for you to elaborate upon it, which are the 6 C's of mental toughness. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'm going to get my notes because there's Momnesia at its best, but basically, I'm one of those people that
I can help you with it too. By the way, I wrote them down. So if you need any,
I've got them here,
okay.
But we can expand on them. So I think I don't know who it was. I want to say that it's you, but again, Momnesia at its best. Somebody created the 4 C's of mental toughness. Was that Jim? Is there a guy out there called Jim Lower?
Jim Lair, yeah.
Okay, so again, I know a little bit. So I'd sort of looked at those and expanded on what works for me.
Nice. So
I think the first thing I'd want to say is that I'm a zinger girl, and I told you I'm like a quote junkie. I love quotes. Like I want to.
Did you say Zynga?
Zingers, yeah, they're like they pack a punch. Somebody says something
nice.
to you.
Nice. Right on. Yeah.
Like in TV, sound bites. They have sound bites.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I got you. I should have. Okay, I got you.
I stole that from somebody as well. I don't steal. I borrow. I borrowed the word zingers, but
I love it. You have such a great accent. So yeah, I was hearing you say Z-I.
Come on. Mock me. Go on.
I'm not. I'm mocking me because I was hearing Z-I-N-G-A.
Oh no!
Like I'm a Zynga.
Zingers.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, zingers.
This is so fun. Right.
Now
Gotcha.
afterwards,
Okay.
I'm gonna research what a zinger is.
I don't. Yeah. Well, I don't think it's anything. That's why I asked.
Well, maybe we're just gonna create a new word.
Yeah.
So if somebody like, I like things explained to me like a 4 or a 5-year-old. Like, I think one of my skills in dealing with people is I don't talk jargon, like through parenting or coaching or nannying. I don't talk like I have a degree in psychology. No disrespect to anybody that does have a degree in psychology, but I like it simple. Okay.
Amen.
So
I love that.
if you ask me, if you ask me a one-liner for mental toughness, and I sent this to you, it's like windshield wipers. Okay, so you're driving your car and you're in the rain. You use your windshield wipers because you can keep going. You don't stop the rain, but you can keep going. So that's what. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So you're not. Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say there with that analogy, which is pretty cool, is that you can't control the outer world, but you can control the inner world. That's a really interesting analogy. That's pretty cool because you're inside the car. You're controlling the inner world. Well, actually, the wipers are on the outside, but you can't stop the rain, which is the conditions. Right? You can't necessarily affect the set of circumstances.
Absolutely.
But you are equipped, windshield wipers,
yes,
to deal masterfully with it, to respond to it in a way that permits you to continue to move forward. That is a kick-ass analogy. Can I use that?
Absolutely, because I probably borrowed it from somebody else.
Okay, consider it stolen.
And my family mantra for a long time, like growing up in the north of England, which is my favorite thing to tell people, is weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. So those little weebles.
I don't think I ever had any, but I remember someone that I knew, like a friend or something, had them. Yeah, and you could just slam them. You could throw them, and they're always going to land up.
Well, now they have bigger ones that like your kids can box with, and
I had one of those. Those are cool. You punch it all the way down to the ground, and it'll always keep coming back up.
So a couple of weeks ago, I was a host of a panel talk and mastermind hot seats with women, and I couldn't get any weebles wobbles in time, so I took along a dinosaur and showed people my analogy of weebles wobble, but you don't fall down with a dinosaur.
Were you punching it?
And that's what you're talking about. You can punch it and it comes back up at you. So I think my attitude in general has been that, you just don't fall down. It's like being a boxer in a boxing ring. You get back up.
So which one of this? So going back to the C's, right, of mental toughness.
Yeah.
Which one are we talking about now?
Well, to be honest, weebles wobble is the statement, the umbrella statement for it all.
Okay.
But so let's run through them. So control. So that's about, it's not what happens to me, but it's about how I react to it.
Okay. So that's like, you're right. So that's like the windshield wipers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have these jokes with friends. We call it once upon a time, because I have friends now that I didn't have 15, 20 years ago, and we'll be in situations and they'll say things to me like, wow, you were so patient, or you showed such self-control. And I'm like, once upon a time, that wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, no. I was like a battle without a cause at one point. Like, I've told you this before, but I'll repeat myself. I was like a Rottweiler with a bee in my mouth. Like I was coming, at you. Look, this is funny because it's funny for you to hear it, and it's a little amusing for me to tell it. But I know it wasn't enjoyable to be on the receiving end of that.
Okay, so let's slow down a second then and talk about this, because so that's not true for you anymore.
No.
Why not? Why not? What did you do? And be as specific as you can, because I really love for people to walk away from these tough talks conversations with something practical that they could integrate into their lives that would have their life be better, right? So what exactly or specifically did you do to transform from the Rottweiler with a bee in its mouth to this peaceful expression of divine grace in human form?
It's not. I am not there yet. Believe me, I'm not there yet. I'm a work in progress.
Well, that's my experience of you. So
thank you. I'm going to take it. I take it. Thank you. So there was definitely a life defining moment for me where there was a huge shift. That life threw me a curveball, and it was definitely my reaction to it that, made this evolution kind of speed up more than I anticipated. So I told you I have a 7-year-old boy, Mason, yes. And I had him the day before I was 47, but I had him through complications. So I'm not going to give you the whole backstory.
Okay.
But I was losing him at 29 weeks. I was. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, so I got whisked off to hospital, and it's funny, but it's not funny. I was in this jalopy of an ambulance, right, being thrown around in this ambulance, and I could hear these sirens going off over my head, and I thought I was in an episode of MASH, like literally, like I can hear all this going on, and then the guy, the EMT, the paramedic guy, he's trying to get an IV line into me. And he basically, very jarring it was, he said, "Ma'am, you have to calm down. Your blood pressure is at stroke level." Wow. So, bam, there in your face, right? Wow. So then, I mean, it's kind of a contradiction in terms, because a statement like that actually makes you fearful, and I think it puts your blood pressure up. Anyway, so we
need to calm down. You're about to die. Oh.
Yeah. But it was one of those moments. Mm-hmm. So then I was hospitalized, and all this gnarly stuff happened. But one of the things that happens is at 29 weeks, everybody comes to you. They want to tell you what the worst case scenario can be if you have that baby at 29 weeks. Wow. And then the calm came over me, just swept over me. And these two specialists came in, and my husband was at the side of me, and they were about to tell us the gnarly stuff. Mm. And I said to him, "We're talking about what might possibly happen, right?" And they said, "Yes." And I said, there were two women, actually. And I basically just looked at my husband and said, "I've got this. Are you okay?" And he had no clue what I was about to say, because obviously that was the battle without the cause time in my life. So I just said to them, "You seem like really nice people. You're very professional, but we're not going to have this conversation. Like, it's not going to happen, because I'm the sort of person that if you plant that seed in my head of worst case scenario, that's what I'm going to sit here and think about. And I'm not going to think about that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to think about this healthy baby boy that's going to be born when he's going to be born." So I said, "So you seem beautiful and lovely and nice, and it was really nice to meet you. And please don't be offended by this, but I hope we never meet again." And the relief that came over these two women in front of me, like you could feel it. You could feel it in the room, right? So off they trot. And then after I'm discharged, I go to see another specialist. And the bottom line was, he said to me, "If you were my wife or my daughter, I would ask you to go home now and be on bed rest for the next 10 weeks, right?" Mm-hmm. Now, anybody that knew me at that time would have said that was absolutely not going to happen. Okay. And it happened. I did it. So that was the control. The control was, the visualization for me was this healthy baby boy that was going to come if I followed the guidelines, right?
You know what that reminds me of? There was a book that I read in college. It's Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. He's a survivor of concentration camps, right? And one way to summarize the message is that a person with a why can deal with any how.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing in this story, is that you had a pretty significant why. So then, and okay, this is beautiful. It's such a great. Okay, so this story is a perfect metaphor for what mental toughness really is, which is doing what it takes, right? Having the psychological or mental fortitude to do what it takes to make the desire your reality.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So you did it. And
I
what
did
did
it.
that, yeah, you did it, right. So, okay, so now how does that then translate into, you transforming from being a Rottweiler with a bee in its mouth to you now?
Well, because with I think with a level of control comes calmness. Like
Mm.
prior to that, even prior to having my son, which I'm more than happy to share, I did via IVF. I had two friends say to me on two separate occasions, and they'd never had this conversation between them, was like, you just live in chaos. Your life is it's chaotic. And they both said to me, the undertone was, there was no room for a baby in my life because of all this chaos.
Wow.
So I made room. I created space,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one part of it. But with the control, then that went into the commitment and the consistency. Like I was, you're the master of this. I was all in. The only thing that mattered was having my son. It didn't matter what else came. There was nothing else to like. That was the creation. That's what I was making. That's what I was birthing.
Right.
In more ways than one. So an example of that was, there I am on bed rest. I mean, I'm allowed to get up. I have bathroom privileges. I can make a cup of tea, which that is the be all and end all. But like my next door neighbour, who is British also, I won't swear because I love swearing, but I won't.
No, no, please do.
No.
We're cool with that here.
I'm
In
Nanny
Tough Talks,
Stella.
the
We
people
don't
that
know where
listen,
this is.
people that listen to and watch Tough Talks are tough. They have thick skin, and they're very comfortable with foul language. So I'm not requesting it, but I'm certainly giving full green light and permission. It's a little bit arrogant of me, but I'm just letting you know.
Hey,
it's cool. Like, we're cool with that here.
You're cruise ship director. This is your boat. I'm here for the ride. My next door neighbor said to me, "You make me effing dizzy just watching you. Like watching you come and go. Just being around you makes me dizzy." Is it frenetic energy? Is that? Yeah. It was like it was chaos, just chaos. So the other C that comes into play there under this one same story is that was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That was a life challenge, right? So I could either be really, really miserable, right? Or I could be really happy that there was going to be, a fabulous outcome. So I said this to you, my quotes that I like. So for the challenge, it was like, weak mind sees problems and complains, which I would have done before. I would have done that, but then I didn't. It was like, this is the task at hand. There's now a new incubation period here. You've got to wait it out.
So the weak mind sees problems and complains,
and the tough mind sees opportunities.
All right. So are you saying that you actually saw an opportunity in that experience? Well, I guess so.
Yeah,
create a child.
Absolutely. I mean, was there ever any big, if somebody says to you, look, like it's like a crystal ball. It's like a crystal ball, right? Somebody, the specialist, the man who knew way more than me, his field of expertise was this, and basically saying to me, unless something else comes into play, if you go home and do what I'm inviting you to do, this will be the end result. But if you don't, like my mind was, I'm going to be back in a room again with those people who want to say to me, oh, and this is what happens now, you're at 32 weeks and you didn't follow the guidelines. You've only shifted 3 weeks. There's still horrible risks. So it was a no-brainer that there was an opportunity.
Yep, right, of course. Yeah, let me ask you this question about that before we go farther. So we've got control, commitment, challenge. Okay, so you were having a child. That's a pretty obviously massive incentive to get your shit together.
Yeah.
Is it possible, having gone through that experience, for you to recreate that same level of commitment without that big of an incentive?
Yes.
Okay, that's important. That's really, yeah. You didn't hesitate with that. Yes.
Yes.
That's good. I'd love to hear that. So how do you do that? Like, I think that's a big question for a lot of people. Like, how do I create that level of absoluteness, that level of all inness, that level of infinite commitment and certainty without the incentive being something as grand as having a baby?
Because you know what, it's relative, isn't it? What's important to one person is not the same level of importance to another. But it's like treating it in the same way. You know, sort of my analogies are birthing things, which I didn't do until the day I was 47. But people birth a lot of opportunities. They birth books, they birth podcasts. You know, it's just it's the mindset, it's the attitude. Like, and I'm big on visualization. Like, you know, I steal things, you know, I borrow things from a lot of places all over the place. You know, University of Santa Monica has a thing called, it's like, they call it a treasure map, right? It's I am. And in the middle, you have a heart and you write the words I am. And then you envisage, you talk yourself that you're doing those things. I am enjoying my life after having released 70 pounds. I am enjoying my family and friends. It's, I don't know if I'm making sense.
So you're saying, well, let me clarify. So you're taking your desires in the future and you're putting them in present tense.
Absolutely. Beautiful. You made it simple.
Well, I love that, because I mean, look, this is the work that I did with Steve Hardis, and you're describing it. Basically, let me see if I can put this.
Oh my gosh, that's your boldness. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, we've never had that conversation.
Well, we shall. You know what's weird is that, so this is so profound to me, right? This is, obviously I went to I'm actually updating it. There's some new ones, so I'm going to make a new one. But I have this one here, one in my meditation space, one in my bathroom mirror. There's one in my wallet, a tiny one that's in my wallet. And there was one in my car until I took it into the dealership.
Oh.
And do you believe that? Now, I can't prove this, but I can prove that it's missing, right? And the only things that went missing after I took it in for service are, honest to goodness, 2 quarters. 2 quarters. And the smaller version of this that was in my car.
And that right there is priceless.
Right. Well, I can recreate it. But isn't it odd that someone would take something like that?
No, it's not odd at all, because what I'm saying is that's going to be priceless to somebody else. I
love you. Because I love the way you're looking at that. That's mental toughness right there, on the fly.
Thanks.
That really, it is. Now you're coaching me up into having a mentally tough response to the fact that I think I got ripped off. That's a weak mind response.
You did it.
Here we are. It's a weak, right? A tough mind. Well, we'll say a weak mind sees problems. They stole my thing, and complains about it. Right?
Yeah.
A tough mind sees opportunity, right, and creates from it, which is, this is a gift. How much effort is it going to take? Plus, I'm redoing them anyway, so I had to redo it anyway. Right?
So just piggybacking off what you said about how you had one, I think you said you had one in your wallet. Years ago, I don't do this now. I have vision boards. I used to have one. Now I have a few, because I have sections. Is
that one behind you or no?
So it's a version of one, but it's not. It's just, that's just the facets of my business broken down.
Okay.
But years ago, I used to carry. I took it to Kinko's. I took my vision board to Kinko's, and I had it reduced and laminated, and I would carry it around in my wallet. But I just thought of a quick story, and I like stories. I think they make it all simple.
Yeah.
But as an example of how things shifted for me, not December just gone, but the December before, I lost my wallet, right? And it had, like, women's wallets kind of have everything in it. I don't know about guys' wallets, but women's have everything in it. Anyway, I lost my wallet. Once upon a time, I would have lost my mind. Lost it, right? But I didn't. So I actually put a post on Facebook, because I remember years ago my grandmother lost her we call them purses in England, but they're wallets. And she had this money in that she'd saved up for a new gas cooker. And for some reason, she ended up being in the newspaper. Don't ask, I'll have to go get some family history on this. But she was in the newspaper about losing this wallet because she'd said that she hoped that the person who found the wallet needed the contents more than she did.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I put this thing on Facebook where I'm like, I hope the person who found my wallet needs it more than I do, you know, the money, the gift cards, blah blah blah. But if they're reading this, please could they just drop the empty wallet off at my door with the license in it, right? The driver's license, because that's a nightmare. That is, DMV is a nightmare.
Yeah, that's probably a place where you require more mental toughness than anywhere else on the planet.
Absolutely. And just dealing with it in that vein, it just dissipated. There was no stress about the wallet. I just systematically replaced the cards and eventually went to the DMV.
So do you get those text messages? Did we ever do that? You're still getting them?
I do.
So just to clarify for people who are watching or listening, I created with a former client of mine a text messaging system to send, so we can send things to ourselves, the stuff that we want to remember.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that I have sent to myself is, this is the best goddamn thing that could have happened.
Right.
Because the last time that came was yesterday morning, and I'll get a few today. There's a whole bunch of them, but that's the one that you're mentioning, that I feel like you're referencing right now, which is train. So the reason I send that to myself is so I look at that, and it doesn't matter what's going on. I practice no matter what it is, even if I'm just sitting having a sandwich, or if I'm like sitting in traffic. It doesn't matter what the scenario is, and this pops up. I'm practicing having my default response to reality to be, this is as it should be. And we can create from this. But I'll tell you what, it takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of reminders.
Absolutely.
Right? So the transformation that you're describing is not, it sounds simple. And I don't think it is complicated, right? But it's like repetitions.
Yeah.
Tons and tons and tons and tons of repetitions, right?
And you have to check yourself. You don't have to, I want to check myself.
You get to. So we've got control, we've got commitment, we've got challenge. What else do we got?
So we've got confidence, care, and cheerful. So the confidence, so some people would say I'm cocky, and I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely, good. That's a badge of honor for me. Absolutely. Nice. Yeah. I'm betting on me. I told you that.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. I was watching golf yesterday, and it always happens. It always happens that I cringe because of some of the commentary that goes on. And let me just tell you what I heard yesterday about confidence. So someone was putting, and the announcer said, the putter, right, which is the golf club that you use to putt on the greens with, if you're not familiar with golf, he said something like, the putter controls your mental attitude.
Wow.
He said, because when you're putting great, then that gives you confidence. And when you're not, it can be so frustrating. And I actually crafted a Facebook post about it, and I actually stopped and videoed it on my TV over here. But I took it down because it felt like it wasn't very kind. It's accurate, but it wasn't very nice. But the point is this, in terms of confidence, the biggest mistake that we make with respect to creating confidence is that we wait for it.
Yeah.
Right? We wait for things to go good before we give ourselves permission to experience the state of confidence. And that's what this guy is reinforcing. Right? The authority figure on TV, for all the people that are listening, especially like, impressionable children, like you junior golfers are listening, like, oh, well, I can't feel confident until I'm putting well. That's the message. And that's bullshit. Right. So I love what you're saying about, I'm betting on me. You're choosing, right, without any need for validation from the outer world, to be a badass.
Yeah, I am.
Because you can.
Because I can.
Right. And why is that intelligent?
Isn't that a no-brainer?
Well, it might be, but it might not be. And even if it is, I think it's worth articulating, because that's what we're here to discuss, right?
So in the confidence part of it, my stories are again the analogies. I was overweight, a lot overweight for many years, and I remember a lady saying to me, and I had, I had good looking boyfriends. Like my husband's he's cool, he's a stud, he's good looking, right? Like, and she's like, this lady was overweight too, and she just the fact that she asked me the question bowled me over. She's like, what is it about you that gets these guys, right?
Wow.
The whole
What a
focus,
sweet, she sounds like a real peach.
she's actually a lovely lady, but I hope I hope she doesn't watch this video. She's gonna know who she is.
Okay.
I'm like, what do you mean? Like, my weight doesn't hold me back. My weight doesn't define me.
Wow,
I'm a wonderful person. I'm a great catch, right? It depends what you hone in on, right?
Mm-hmm.
She honed in on that she was overweight, and because she was overweight, she wasn't going to get a boyfriend.
Yeah, right.
Does that make sense?
Of course it does. And what did you hone in on?
The fact that I'm a badass. I'm a great catch.
And by hone in on, we mean that's what you chose. That's your choice of interpretation. That's how you chose to think of yourself. Choose being the operative word.
Yeah, like I think my mother was pretty way ahead of her time. She is radical, like she instilled in my brother and I that we could do whatever we wanted to do and be whoever we wanted to be. For a little while I was a celebrity there. I'm not putting success on being a celebrity, but I'm a working class girl from the north of England. I've done pretty well for myself, My brother's a Michelin star chef. Like he's we're doing okay.
You're crushing it. So we'll talk about the celebrity stuff in a second. We've got two more. So we've got control, commitment, challenge, confidence, and then the last two are care and cheerfulness.
Yeah. So the care is huge, and I think care is huge for women. I'm not a man, so I don't relate in the same way. Okay. But women, we're natural caretakers. We're natural fixers. We want to put everybody else first. I don't come from that standpoint. It's like when you're on the airplane and they say, put the mask on you first before your children, The example I gave you, which we've heard all over the place, is a teacup. And, I should be a campaign for tea. Somebody should be paying me for tea.
You love your tea.
I do love my tea. I give from the overflow, right? You can have from the abundance of me, but you can't deplete. You can't deplete. And for a long, long, long time, I was depleted. There's a reason I didn't have a child before the day before I was 47. My life was stressful. And I also see differences between pressure and stress, but we're talking about stress. Like, I was completely overwhelmed. Like we've said, there wasn't enough room for a baby. So now you can have from the overflow. The other thing that's really big for me on care is I have given myself permission to say no. Right? Women.
That's huge. Byron Katie talks a lot about that, right? She says right. No is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
So say a little bit more about that. You've given yourself permission to say no.
So I've kind of moved. At one point I used to have, I feel like I sometimes some things were rapid. They seemed rapid and some were slower in this evolution for me of myself. But I had this window where I would say to people, can I get back to you in 24 hours? Because I would be so quick to say yes. Mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. So
that's great. That's a great takeaway right there. Let's slow that down. I love that. So that's great. That's mindfulness. So if you're not absolutely clear on what you're being asked of, or what you're contemplating committing to, buy yourself some time is an option.
Yeah. First step. If that You know, it's like baby steps. You don't have to go. It's a little difficult to go 0 to 60. This is, you know, it's like I said about life, how I see life. And again, I know this is used a lot, but it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You know, there are peaks and there are troughs, and it's like baby steps. So, but now when I know something isn't going to work for me, I say no automatically.
Beautiful. And that's under the heading of care. I love it. So what are you caring about there?
What am I caring about?
Yeah, in the contemplation of or in saying no.
So in saying no, it recently happened with my son's school. No, I'm a PTA volunteer, and normally somebody will ask me, and I'm like, yes. But now I'm like, no, that's going to take away from something else that I'm doing or that I want to do. Another
that
big
I care about. Okay.
Yeah, the other thing is, as far as care, and I love this one, I build time in my schedule, and it doesn't say anything, but it's my time. I can read, again, I'm working on it. But when somebody says to me, can you meet me at this time? I can happily answer, no, I have an appointment.
With yourself, even if it's to do nothing. That is so brilliant. That's such a huge deal.
It is. And yeah. So that's one of the things that I like. In my diaries in the house, but you know, there are times mapped out for me.
You schedule time. That is so smart. That is really intelligent, especially for people that live the frenetic schedule, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of business people that, you know, they always you hear phrases like, "Oh, it's been a crazy week."
The bigger piece of the care there is as well. And again, I'm talking to women here. We're so quick to give up on something for us that we wouldn't do. We wouldn't cancel on somebody else, but we'd cancel on ourselves.
And that's not very mentally tough, is it?
No.
Right.
Not at all.
Right. Amen. Good deal. All right. So let's get to cheer. And then we have a couple more things to talk about.
It's just me. I'm a cheerful person. I have to have fun. I make fun.
Yeah, but you are definitely fun.
Thank you.
I can attest to that.
Look,
and there's great mental toughness in that. I had a cool conversation with Steve Chandler one time on the intelligence of fun. So we'll just say cheer. The intelligence, and it's been widely researched. It's all human. I mean, seriously, all of human peak performance research fundamentally boils down to we're at our best when we feel our best. Period. It
became big for me. Like why I added it to this when I was thinking about it in preparation for chatting was because my kid says, "Have fun at work."
Yes.
Have fun at work.
That's beautiful.
How radical is that?
That's perfect. That's beautiful. All right, talk about. So you mentioned that you were a celebrity, right? And we know about Nanny Stella.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So I basically got headhunted. I came here almost 30 years ago. Worked as a nanny. Long story short, they were recruiting for Nanny 911, and I was actually out of the country. I worked for a very prolific movie producer. Came back. Long story short, everybody was talking about it. I get this call, and I declined. On the first phone call, I declined.
What exactly were you declining?
Okay, so Nanny 911 is a reality show, a reality show for parenting.
Yes.
So it's bringing in a nanny as a parent coach.
So you are the main character in a reality TV show, Nanny Stella.
Nanny Stella. When we started,
so they were asking you if you would be that person, and that's what you said no to.
Yeah. Why? Because they wanted 10 weeks. They said they wanted 10 weeks. No, I didn't have 10 weeks. I was married. I had stepkids. I had a job. At that time, I didn't have 10 minutes, let alone 10 weeks.
Okay.
So I said no, but here's the thing. I pouted because I knew it was going to be so successful. And I had this very cocky, confident statement that I would tell my boss at the time, who knew I'd been approached for it and I declined. And I said, look, this is like Miss World, okay? I said, not all the most beautiful women are in the pageant. And that show is not going to be as fabulous as it could be without me.
Wow, that's badass right there. That is language.
That's cocky.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's the cocky side, right?
Well, you know, you say cocky, and yeah, I love that word. But it also has a bit of a negative connotation with people, right?
Yeah.
That's so I want to describe that a little bit differently, okay? Because I don't think that does what you were demonstrating, and what you demonstrate. It doesn't do a justification that it deserves. Give the justification it deserves. That is. I could describe that as divine selfishness.
Beautiful. I'll take it.
Right? Yeah. You're loving yourself so much, and you're loving the world. That's what's I think my favorite part of what you just said. There's the show is going to be an amazing success, and it won't be as valuable for the world unless I'm in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's two ways to hear that. Oh God, what a cocky bitch, or what a beautiful, comfortable, confident, loving awareness. And
I am now going to stop using the word cocky.
Oh, really?
You go. Okay. There you go. Yeah, I am. Yeah, because you're right. There's a negative connotation, and I don't want the negative connotation.
I had a conversation recently with Steve Hardison, and I was sitting with him, and in the context of what was a 2-hour dialogue, he said, and it was perfectly in context. And the following, what he said was fully in support of everything we were discussing. And he said, no one in the world is ever going to coach as well as I do. Something like that. And he was saying that to a coach.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people could hear that as, dude, what's the matter with you? You know, but it was beautiful. He was modeling, what I was witnessing was someone who is, you know what? In fact, it's the subtitle of my freaking book, which I love way better than the actual title of my book, is somebody who is.
There you go. I'll take it.
That's what you're talking about. You confidently stepping into your own brilliance, and comfortably.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There you go. No. Because
with control, commitment. Yep. Confidence, care, and cheerfully stepping into your own brilliance.
So what happened was, luckily, somebody didn't know they'd called me. They hadn't checked me off their list.
So serendipity is involved as well. Isn't that interesting? That's we're gonna have to come back to that.
They called me,
right?
They called me back, and this is the God's honest truth. I'm like, is this a joke? Are you trying to rub salt in my wounds? Because you've already spoken to me and I've declined. And the lady said, they probably said this to everybody. You come really highly recommended. We love your accent. I can't remember what else they said. And I said, I'm not available. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I don't have 10 weeks. She goes, oh, 10? No, we're down to 2. Do you have 2 weeks? So I'm like, yes. Anyway, by this point, I was sick of hearing about Nanny 911, sick to death of it, because everybody and their dog had been interviewed, right, by this point, and I'm over it. So I just went along to put myself out of my own misery, right? I just wanted to see what the hype was about, right? Yeah. I go along, and very quickly, I'm moved from an interview to the 3 producers. But along the way, I said to them, look, I'm not going to be good for this. I tried to make my own instructional videos a few years ago, and I was useless. I was really terrible on camera. So they said, look, we're just going to sit, kind of like what we're doing now. We're going to sit and we're going to chat, and there's going to be a camera. And then I just like relaxed, and I started telling stories, and they asked me questions, and I'd tell stories, and that was it. I actually signed up for 1 episode. 1. I said I can do 1. I know I can do 1. I can pull that off. Because I shared my job. I did so many days on, so many days off. I was part of a team. So I knew I could pull it off. And then basically what happened was I did the one episode. Mike Darnell, who was the head of Fox, reality for Fox at the time, said, okay, whatever you need to do now, we need to get more episodes. And that was it. So it started off in the beginning, there were 4 of us. And by the end of it, there were 2 of us. And rumor has it, on some nights, there was an audience of 14 million viewers.
Wow. Holy moly. That's amazing. So that is the Nanny Stella. Now, can I flip this around? This mug. So for those of you who are listening to the podcast, I'm holding up a mug that Nanny Stella had sent to me. Right, and here's, this was one of my favorite conversations in history.
Oh my gosh.
So for those of you that don't know, this is from the comic show South Park. Can you give us a little synopsis of how that what happened there, and why is it significant for you?
It's significant for me because I'm now embracing it, and I kind of used to cringe about it.
About the fact that you were spoofed on a harsh ass show.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. We're either whining about it or we're embracing it, okay?
Yeah.
I now embrace it. I'm not whining about it.
But you whined about it at first?
Oh, yeah. I was,
Were you ashamed? Or what happened? So
no. Yeah. So it wasn't about being ashamed. It was the fact that, first of all, you have no say in this. You are public domain.
Were they ridiculing you? I never saw it. I never saw the episode. I wasn't a big fan of the show. So they spoofed you.
By American humor, it's funny. And I have to be honest, some of it is funny. Some of it hit home, and I'll tell you why. So they don't, you don't give permission. Nobody calls you up and says, hey, Nanny Stella, would you like to be your own voice on an episode of South Park? Right? They just jog on and do it. So in this episode of South Park, Cartman, the little shit, is calling me horrible names. He's spitting in my face.
Oh my.
But some of it, like when people ask me what I thought about it, I was like, they gave me crooked teeth. I don't like the accent, right? And look.
Wow.
Look, I paid a lot of money for these.
Right.
That's what I was upset about. But what I was actually the most upset about was the guy says the Cartman little shit says you have a shriveled up uterus.
Oh my God.
Well, this was before Mason, right? I mean, he said things like, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Well, guess what? I was a bride. You know, I was married. I'm married, right? Anyway, somebody at the time called me up and said, somebody quite famous, called up and said to me, what do you think of the episode? And I said, I mean, I'd never watched South Park, so I tuned in because everybody was calling me. And of the 3 of us on the show, I get the most screen time, right? But what I did love about it, I digressed. So the guy said to me, you know, what do you think about it? I said, I don't like it. The crooked teeth, the voice. I never mentioned the shriveled up uterus to him. But he's like, get over it. You're famous. Like, that's it. Okay? Like, I'm more recognized for being spoofed on South Park than for being on Nanny 911. But I got the most screen time. You know, there were 3 of us on the show at the time. I got the most. And Joe Frost, who, if we talk about competition, and there is no competition, but she is Super Nanny, and she's on the episode, and they've put her in an asylum, and she's eating feces.
Oh my God.
So, I'll take it.
So so now you're embracing it.
Yeah. I'm on an episode of South Park. I'm like, to some people, I'm really cool. Like,
well, I'm certainly one of those people. Oh, that's good stuff. That's great. I think we've just reached our time limit here. So, man,
can I throw one thing out there?
Yes, please.
You're looking a bit dizzy. So I thought I'd calm down.
I'm laughing pretty hard. This is good stuff.
So this is one of the things that really resonates with me that I want that I want people to know about me. This quote from I don't know where I stole it from, but this is me in a nutshell. If you hang out with me for too long, I'll brainwash you into believing in yourself and thinking you can achieve anything.
Wow. Well, then let's hang out more. That's pretty beautiful. Yeah. That's spectacular. Nanny Stella, you're amazing.
So are you. Thanks for having me on this. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your insights, and your humor, your cheerfulness with me and with the folks that are watching and listening. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you, Stella. You too.
Bye.